All right, ready? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Rishi, you remember this one?
Translation is something struggling.
Before reciting the
reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, we should.
which is the very means of conquest,
It was not.
one should offer their respectful obeisances
unto
the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan,
unto Narayan Rishi,
Supremacy
Supremest Human Being, unto Srila Vyasdev, the author,
and Mother Saraswati in the middle
goddess
of them.
of learning.
Very good. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastoya Badrani Vidunoti Sahritsatam. Sri Krishna, who is the Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of each living entity, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desire of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. So if you're having struggles with material desires in your life, this is the medicine right here. You just have to hear the messages of Krishna. Also from a bona fide person, so I'm sorry that you have only me to hear from as of right now in this local region. But the good news is I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I have heard from bona fide persons the message of Krishna, which is how I was able to at least reduce my own material desires from where they currently were. And so for me, that's all I can really ask, is that Krishna gives me people in my life more bona fide than myself to help me make advancement. So, but by hearing the messages of Krishna from them, it works. It's a very potent medicine that will uproot this illusory material desires which are ultimately holding us back and cause us what? Misery, yeah. Wonderful. So, all right. So, Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So by regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, they're lumped together as Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed. And love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So all your troubles will dissipate. So if you're having troubles, this is your medicine. And what will come in its place is love for God. And in love for God is a process of eternal bliss. So yeah, it's pretty much an easy trade. Trade out all your troubles for like blissful life. So hear Bhagavatam. And now I should mention this as well. We have the tendency to rely, and look, we're putting it online. We have the tendency to rely on the internet. Well, I can hear Prabhupada's recordings and things like that. We have to remember it is a personal movement. And actually how Shabda Brahma moves, it's a person-to-person experience.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, no, that's very good, Craig. I'm very happy that you're here. So it is a person-to-person experience, and not the same thing, because it takes two to actually have the process of bhakti or the Shabda Brahma. It takes a proper speaker. So that's one thing, but it also takes a proper recipient. So if, even if you are here, if you're just checked out, there's no actual proper reception. So what's to speak now? You're in your kitchen, you're doing this, that, and the other. Prabhupada's speaking over there. He's the proper the speaker. But, time, place, circumstance, and then you got the machine muddling, whatever it's muddling. And next thing you know, you're not getting the same result. So, there's so many people, just by even seeing Prabhupada, they were just completely, oh my God, like they wanted to change their whole lives just by being able to just see him. One devotee, I remember, he was mesmerized just watching Prabhupada eat chickpeas. It was just the way he was throwing them up and catching them in his mouth. He was just like, wow, he's amazing. So you can't even imagine, and obviously, here it's not like you have the good opportunity. If you watched me eat chickpeas, you'd be disgusted, but this is actually how the process works. So we want to actually seek out sadhus, and we want to seek out more advanced spiritual practitioners from ourselves and hear from them. This is the process. This is the medicine. It's not so easy. Well, I'll just stay in my home in my material comforts, and then just I'll get the result. So obviously it won't work like that. You have to go out and surrender a certain element of yourself to okay, like yesterday, Meghna actually was here, and she asked for some practical advice. What would really help her? I was like, actually, if you came and heard Bhagavatam every day, this would be the thing that would help you the most. She's like, what, but Prabhu, practical advice. I need practical. I'm like, well, the most practical thing is you would actually come here and you would figure out a way to mold your life that you can hear Bhagavatam every day. So I kind of had to do that with her a few times. And then I was like, all right, well, if you can't do that, then at least do this program. Hear Prabhupada, lecture twice a day, chant 8 rounds, and read 4 pages of a Prabhupada book every day. Then you can, you'll make some advancement. But actually the most potent way is it's person to person. That's how the process works. So that's the most practical thing we can do. So anyhow, we have to make time for this in our life. If we're not making time for this in our life, we're just, we're not that intellectually refined as of yet. Because this is of the utmost importance. This is why, I don't know if you guys heard, Craig, you heard, me and my wife, even though it's very financially irresponsible for us to do this right now, it makes no material sense, we are going to go to India for a month. Why? Because we're craving that. We know that's what we need. February 1st we'll leave here, and we'll come back March 8th, or March 9th or so. So,
really, even with her being that pregnant?
Yes, it makes no material sense. It seems materially irresponsible, but because we know what we need for us to actually do this service properly, that we have to do this. We have to hear from bona fide sadhus and increase our bhakti, so that we could even have a shot of helping any of you. No, I can't do. If Mukunda was going, that would be a different story. But anyhow. So now we have 1926. So just a little bit of backstory. Yudhishthir. Oh, right here. Yudhishthir and Krishna and the Pandavas. Yudhishthir was beside himself. He was lamenting like crazy after the war. So many millions died. And he took it, because he's so pious, he took it on his own. He saw himself as like a brute who orchestrated this whole war to, just for his sense gratification. Even though that's not at all what he was doing, and he tried exhausted every option. That's actually the nature of an advanced soul, that they're so humble that even if it's clear that's not what they're doing, they don't make he wouldn't make an excuse for himself. Well, it's actually because they were adharmic and things. No, he's just so humble that he puts it on himself. And it appears that he's bewildered over family relations and things like that. He's very soft-hearted. But actually, this is Krishna's arrangement, because Krishna was very interested in tending to Bhishma. Bhishma was sitting there since the 10th day of the war, and the war is over, in some time. He's been sitting there on a bed of arrows, just contemplating his life, not in pain because he had received a benediction, but he's just sitting there waiting for the right time to leave his body. Defeated, lodged into the earth on a bed of arrows. So anyhow, thousands of arrows, it said. I don't know if they quite got to 1,000 in this picture, but so anyhow, every like inch of his body covered, pierced with arrows, driven into the earth like that. Very intense. Yes, Arjuna was the one who made the arrow bed by Bhishma's command, actually, and by Krishna's command, because Krishna was going to do it himself, actually. Actually, this will be explained very soon, so I don't want to spoil it. But now they want to hear from Bhishma, and Bhishma, he's very happy, he's very affectionately greeting them. He loves the Pandavas, he always loved the Pandavas throughout their whole childhood. And he only had to go against them due to a vow that he made previously, that by the force of time was going to turn on him. And the vow was to serve the king of Hastinapur. And then when the king of Hastinapur became evil, now it's turned on him. What do? Do I honor my vow, or do I break my vow for higher principles? Many may argue maybe he should have broke his vow, but that wasn't Bhishma's nature to break his vow. So anyhow, Krishna was very much affectionate to Bhishma, and he considered him a great devotee. And Bhishma, had a couple of really interesting rasas with Krishna. The Vira ras, the hero wanting to fight with him. Yudha Vira, it's called. Rodra, even you can to fear seeing Krishna charge at him with a wheel, like ready to kill him. Rodra's anger, and then Bhayanaka's fear, so all of these rasas, Bhishma, and actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentions that he also, Bibhatsa, which is disgust, he was disgusted with Krishna, that Krishna had made him break his vow because he had vowed to kill the Pandavas that day, and he infused all of his energy into those arrows, and then it was taken from him. What's interesting is it seems like, well, I don't want to have that I don't want to experience fear with Krishna. I don't want to experience disgust, Bibhatsa. I don't want to experience Yudha Vira, which is fighting against Krishna or fighting with Krishna even. I want to experience like this. That's very good. But there are some people like Bhishma who that's how they can have a nice relationship with Krishna. And Krishna's proving how much he enjoyed the relationship. Even though there was fighting and fear and disgust even and challenging each other. So anyhow, like this, Krishna is ready to come to Bhishma's aid. And then what does Bhishma do? Once the formalities are over and his affection for the Pandavas are over, he starts glorifying Krishna as the supreme person. Bhishma is known as one of the Mahajans, or one of the great personalities who know the truth, they know the instructions on what to do. Which is why he's going to give Yudhisthira and all the sages come. He's going to give everyone a discourse on ultimately what are the prime values of life. So if you don't know the prime values of life, you're going to really like hearing from Bhishma. You'll hit the whole Bhagavatam. That's what it's all about. What is the essence of life? Boom, Bhagavatam, and you get it. So anyhow, the last verse we did was Maharaj Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhishma Dev speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. Essentially, what is the essence of life? What is the essential things that we should do as our duty? And Bhishma, and then it'll continue as such. Text 26. Purusha swabhava vihita. Purusha swabhava. No, it's Purusha swabhava vihitan. Yatha varnam yathashramam. Vairagya ragopadibhyam. Amnato bhaya lakshanan. Purusha, the human being. Swabhava, by his own acquired qualities. Vihitan, prescribed. Yatha, according to. Varnam, classification of castes. Yatha, according to. Ashramam, orders of life. Vairagya, detachment. Raga, attachment. Upadibhyam, out of such designations. Amnata, systematically. Ubhaya, both. Lakshanan, symptoms. Translation: At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishmadev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold division, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. All right, now we are going to get a lesson. This is quite the purport. Not that long, but it's a good purport. Purport. You know what? Please, I declined it from here. Don't worry, Rishi. I'm going to chant the prayers to the Gurus before we read because I'll get off on a tangent and then I won't glorify them properly. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshadaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine. All right. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The conception of 4 castes and 4 orders of life as planned by the Lord Himself, mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act according to get free from material bondage or conditional life. So the whole point of the ashram system is that you make gradual advancement. Even if you're at the lowest point from like the Shudra stage or even lower, if you do your duties in such a way, as per the Dharma, you can go up to a higher qualification. It might take many lifetimes, thousands, millions of lifetimes even, but you'll always make gradual advancement. So that's the point of following the Vedic way of life. You'll keep advancing. So, in almost all the Puranas, the subject matter is described in the same spirit, and so also in the Mahabharata it is more elaborately described by Bhishmadev in the Shanti Parva, beginning from the 60th chapter. The Varnashram Dharma is prescribed for the civilized human being just to train him to successfully terminate human life. So we want to actually terminate this whole experience of material world, human life, human pleasures, human chasing of pursuits. It's not really something that we should feel is so interested, at least in this material world. Actually, we may be very interested in a human-like experience in the spiritual world, but it has nothing to do with material bodies, material elements, anything like this. So anyway, this is one thing. But self-realization is distinguished from the life of the lower animals engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. Bhishmadev advised for all human beings 9 qualifications. 1, not to become angry. So this is very nice. 2, not to lie. 3, to equally distribute wealth. 4, to forgive. 5, to beget children only by one's legitimate wife. 6, to be pure in mind and hygienic in body. 7, not to be inimical toward anyone. have any enmity with anybody. 8, to be simple. And 9, to support servants or subordinates. So these are some of the qualities of dharmic people, one who follows dharma. Beyond just the basic necessities of living, eating, sleeping, fearing, and defending, and mating. One, so all of them we should try and cultivate. But one cannot be called a civilized person without acquiring the above-mentioned preliminary qualities. Besides these, the brahmanas, the intelligent men, the administrative men, the mercantile community, and the laborer class must acquire special qualities in terms of occupational duties mentioned in all the Vedic scriptures. Prabhupada mentions, for the intelligent men, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. It is the basis of morality. Sex indulgence, even with a legitimate wife, must also be controlled, and thereby family control will automatically follow. An intelligent man abuses his great qualifications if he does not follow the Vedic way of life. This means he must seriously make a study of the Vedic literatures, especially of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. For learning Vedic knowledge, one must approach a person who is 100% engaged in devotional service. He must not do things which are forbidden in the Shastras. These are called vikarma. A person cannot be a teacher if he drinks or smokes. In the modern system of education, the teacher's academic qualification is taken into consideration without evaluation of his moral life. Therefore, the result of education is misuse of high intelligence in so many ways. So, every class has certain things they have to work on. Like brahmanas have, so many things that they do and qualities they cultivate. They study the Vedic scriptures. Prabhupada is trying to raise everyone to at least brahmana and beyond. Vaishnava, to be a bona fide Vaishnava, actually is beyond shastrically even the Brahmin state. But that means you have to really exude these qualities even beyond what the Brahmins are exuding. That means, you don't miss a beat. So this is, all of these qualities have to come in time. They're cultivated. And then ultimately, as we study the Vedic literatures, the more we study Bhagavatam, the more we study Bhagavad Gita, the more we take time to study these things, then we can actually make real advancement. Actually, Rishi is a shining example of a lot of you guys, especially Piyush and Piyush. Never mind. Rishi is actually a shining example. Piyush was taking a very nice sunbath. So this Rishi is actually a shining example of going on in his occupational duties. Now he's working. You guys are ready to do that. You're ready to get your jobs. You're ready to work. But actually, interestingly enough, what Krishna made Rishi go through to get it, even though he did his duties every day, he did his applications, he did his work, and he was very diligent. He chanted his rounds every day. He did service anytime, and there were times where I could tell he did not want to do it, but he knew that he should do it, and he did it. He kind of surrendered, and then I saw Krishna really reciprocate with him in his service in every type of way. There was just like a few things that Krishna wanted to make him learn before he graduated him. And even now that he's graduated out of the ashram doing his job, he was telling me yesterday how actually difficult that next phase is, and how he's feeling very fortunate that Krishna canceled his flight and arranged him to somehow come to Syracuse instead of back to Buffalo, so he can get like a little bit of a revitalization. So if you are here and you have the opportunity for revitalization every day, I would take it. Rather, sometimes we can take everything for granted. familiarity breeds contempt. Actually, Srila Prabhupada had many secretaries, but since he sensed this in his disciples, he made them switch over and over and over again. Why? Because we eventually we can become so familiar that we could, eventually, even if we were with the Lord, we'd be like, oh, yeah, what are you doing? Like this. So try your best to understand and appreciate the opportunity. And also understand, I saw this very much with Rishi, and I'm sure if you ask him, he'll agree. It wasn't more material things that Rishi had to do to get his job. He had to do the basics. But really, to move on to the next thing of life, but there was a lot of character development that I saw Krishna build in Rishi. And then when his character was built to the peak that I saw it, then I realized Krishna opened the floodgate, and now, okay, you're ready for the next chapter. So this is all about character development. This is all what Krishna is looking for, or to build character. Before he gives us the next opportunities for service, he wants to refine us. And that might mean in building these 9 qualities, again, not becoming angry, not lying, equally distributing wealth. Does everyone know Rupa Goswami's distribution of wealth method? You know it, Michael?
50% of your income, total income, to the devotees in the temple, and then 50% of yourself, or 50%.
It's
Personal needs.
so there's 20. Yeah, it's 50, 25, 20. 25 for your own personal savings and personal emergencies. 25% to your relatives and those you're responsible for, and then 50% towards the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins. So that was Rupa Goswami's recommendation, and practical example. He lived by this. Now, just a couple factors. It was a lot easier to survive even 500 years ago. A house wasn't such a task to maintain a house, all these things. So you might have to make some adjustments where you might just be like, if I gave 50% of my income, now I have nothing. That's not something that is probably possible, but you have to actually, it's ideal to become sincere. And like, okay, what is the actual number that I can give that is proper? So that's one thing. To support servants or subordinates, this is actually, interestingly, this is like kind of like a character development test for me, because as I'm doing this more and more, there's more sevaks coming, and it's at a lot of times it's I'm the one appearing to call shots, even though Krishna's calling all the shots, right? But it appears like that I'm instructing, but this I can't just have you like, all right, you do this, you do this, you do this, I'll see you later. Like, there should be an element of support, which I could, I'm sure, get better at, but you guys can let me know. When you feel like more support, you need more support, this, I'm very interested in this. So anyhow, these are qualities that we have to cultivate, not to exploit people, to help people. This is our tendency in the material world, is to try and lord it over everyone and everything. And so on, being forgiving, distributing, I mentioned that one, not lying, not being angry, being truthful and peaceful, being clean in mind and in body, not to be, inimical toward anyone. I had a good practice yesterday. Our neighbors doesn't like us very much, this guy. But and our other neighbor was complaining about this neighbor yesterday, and he was saying like this, and I was like, you know what? And he told me a bad thing that this neighbor said about us to him, and so I was like, you know what? That's okay. Like, just I'll try myself not to do that. Like, and that was my humble attempt at if he even wants to be, inimical towards us, that's fine. But I don't need to be inimical towards him. I could still be very friendly and cordial with him. So anyhow, these are things that Vedic teachings, they teach you to cultivate, doing one's duty in society, and you have to figure out what your duty is. Some of you are born with such a duty, like Piyush was born in Brahmin caste, Brahmin family. This is such a tall order, but you can do it.
He's trying to be.
Yes.
Not say much on that.
Yes. You can do it. You become you actually. I can sense that it's there. You have a very high affinity towards intellectual conversations, intellectual pursuits. But now what does the Brahman do that on Brahma, on spirit? You should dovetail that. That should be where your energy goes. So anyhow, these are certain things. And Prabhupada wants all of us, no matter what position, all of us to be even above Brahminical. Even if we're engineering at Tesla or fixing up computers or PhDs or looking for whatever job anyone will offer in some phase of the life. All spare time used in this way, cultivating Vedic life. That's studying the scriptures, associating with devotees, acquiring knowledge on what one should do in one's life. What is the duty for a grahastha? Looks like you're entering towards grahastha. What is the actual duty? What am I supposed to do? We should learn. This is all mentioned. So anyway, and not doing the things which are forbidden. There's many things forbidden. Not doing those things. So anyhow, and then ultimately, you got to find a teacher. It's so important. You have to find a teacher. And I will say, I can act in a certain level of giving some shiksha, like instructions or Vartma Pradarshika, where I can kind of illumine the path. But you have to find somebody who's more qualified than me. It's essential. It's essential for you to make really deep advancement. And I will try and invite such personalities here. We're also... we have our Diksha Guru Maharaj will come. We'll have many nice gurus like Vaisheshika Prabhu and others. That's the hope that he will come. But it's indicated that he would like to come. And Ramapad Swami and so on. But you need to find a teacher who you feel is of the utmost cent% or 100% engaged in devotional service. And you would like to learn how to do devotional service from this personality. Is so important. It cannot be emphasized. There's literally nothing more important to emphasize. Again, this is why we're going to India. We're going to gather with sadhus. We'll meet our Diksha Guru in India. We'll meet many. We're going to try and line up with as many sadhus as we can, because it's it eats at us that, yes, you have to, every time I read, yes, we should be, approach a person. And it's not just once, many times. And even, we've seen that even many of Prabhupada's disciples fell away. Why? Because even though the very potent spiritual master was there, and many who had the right mood or shishya mood, they got the incredible benefit and they made such rapid advancement. But many did not make that much advancement. Everyone made advancement by just coming across Prabhupada. But we have to do our part on being the proper shishya, or the proper instructor, or the proper receiver of knowledge. We have to learn what it actually means to take instruction properly, the moods we have to cultivate, the humility. Like for instance, we chant the Shikshastakam every day. And we had the verse today that, oh my Lord, even though you invest all your transcendental energies into your holy name, and yet I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. So if you're rushing to get your rounds done, or if you're excited when the rounds are done at the end of the day, or you're not sitting there in tears of ecstasy while chanting the holy name, or in kirtan, or dancing in ecstasy, it means actually that applies to you. you have no attraction for the holy name, which means you actually have no attraction for Krishna, because Krishna is non-different from his name. So what do we actually do? The next verse explains. It's the most important verse in all Vaishnava canon given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is it? Chena Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. What's it mean?
One should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strong, the street, devoid of all sense of false prestige. One should be more tolerant than a tree, and one should offer all respects to others, and in that way one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly.
Yes, all of those things. Be more humble than the straw in the street, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of any sense of false prestige, thinking yourself artificially great, or, oh, I have this qualification, I have that qualification. And ready to offer all respects unto others, especially by their understanding their position. Now that's being said, it's not that okay, I'm going to go to the local school and I'm going to ask all the kindergartners to teach me. I want them to instruct me in life. There's a proper way to respect kindergartners. There's a proper way to respect animals, a proper way. But we should learn how to properly respect everyone based on their position. And that's also with devotees. This is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction, as I think you get to the 5th verse. How we associate with devotees. So anyway, these are all very important things. And this is how we can live a moral life and make advancement. We have to see this. We can't be so short-sighted. We have to see this in the long run. We have to take to activities that are going to help us in the long run. If you drink a beer or something, you might see I'll have a better time doing all these miserable activities with everyone. I don't know. Let's say what do people who drink do? Playing beer pong.
That's good.
Yes, I will. I'll have a better time playing beer pong. But ultimately, how will beer pong help you in the long run? No, it'll just hurt you in the long run. So, but it's a very short-sighted. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. When we things in the mode of goodness, they taste bitter at first, but they're nectar in the end. But things in the mode of rajas, they taste like nectar in the beginning. Maybe like sex, maybe even tasty foods. Things like this. But ultimately, in the end, they're bitter. They cause misery. Our dear boy Michael, he's experiencing. I hate to see he's dealing with this stomach issue for some time now, but he's experiencing very viscerally how I slipped up on one of my one of the tenets of honoring prasad, and then I have a bellyache. And actually, we're getting worried because now it's been some days now. Yeah, maybe they. No, we should keep you. We're concerned. We want to make sure you're good. But anyhow, this is an example. We have to be very diligent in our practices. I myself, I'm also got an argument with my wife this morning because I was tinkering up our diet a little bit more because I was experiencing that myself. I think I'm having too much of this, that, and the other, and it's causing problems. I don't want to have excess gas and things like this, So and she's like, "You already restrict me so much," and yeah. It's like, oh my God. Luckily, she's sleeping right now. But yeah, we have to. We have to try and work on these things. And so anyhow, the Kshatriya, the member of the administrative class, is especially advised to give charity and not to accept charity in any circumstance. Modern administrators raise subscriptions for some political functions, but never give charity to the citizens in any state function. So this is the opposite. It is just the reverse in the injunctions of the Shastras. The administrative class must be well versed in the Shastras, but must not take to the profession of teachers. The administrators should never pretend to become nonviolent and thereby go to hell. When Arjuna wanted to become a nonviolent coward on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was severely chastised by Lord Krishna. The Lord degraded Arjuna at that time to the status of an uncivilized man for his avowed acceptance of the cult of nonviolence. So leaders have to learn strength and how to properly be strong, and that means by force. Leaders have to do, I'm not in such a position in life. But these are the qualities that we should look for in a leader, not like a big diplomat or anything like that. Strong leaders. So the Lord, the administrative class must be personally trained in military education. Cowards should not be elevated to the presidential throne by dint of numerical votes only. Democracy. The monarchs were all chivalrous personalities, and therefore monarchy should be maintained provided the monarch is regularly trained in the occupational duties of a king. In fighting, the king or the president should never return home without being hurt by the enemy. The so-called king of today never visits the warfield. He is very much expert in artificially encouraging the fighting strength in the hope of false national prestige. As soon as the administrative class is turned into a gang of mercantile and laborer men, the whole machinery of government becomes polluted. Guess what? That's what's happened. This is every government of the world right now. Who do you see right there, who's actually trained in any type of, fighting experience? Who's actually leading anyone? Almost none. I think Vladimir Putin. Yeah, I think Vladimir Putin like wrestles bears or something. I don't know, but I don't know. Anyhow, the Vaishyas, the members of the mercantile communities, are especially advised to protect the cows. Cow protection means increasing the milk productions, namely curd and butter. Craig and Michael, this might be a profession for you guys. So, agriculture and distribution of the foodstuff are the primary duties of the mercantile community, backed by education and Vedic knowledge and trained to give in charity. As the Kshatriyas were given charge of the protection of the citizens, Vaishyas were given the charge of the protection of animals. Animals are never meant to be killed. Killing of animals is a symptom of barbarian society. Well, here we are. For a human being, agricultural produce, fruits, and milk are sufficient and compatible foodstuffs. The human society should give more attention to animal protection. The productive energy of the laborer is misused when he is occupied by industrial enterprises. Industry of various types cannot produce the essential needs of man, namely rice, wheat, grains, milk, fruits, and vegetables. The production of machines and machine tools increases the artificial living fashion of a class of vested interests and keeps thousands of men in starvation and unrest. This should not be the standard of civilization. So I don't know if you can sense what Prabhupada's doing, but Prabhupada is giving a model as to how we should all live. And actually, we're, as a society, like say ISKCON or even the greater Gaudiya communities, we're not able to meet this model as of yet. We're not able to meet this Vedic model yet. We have a bunch of projects trying. Actually, my hope and dreams is that eventually we can expand this project so much where we can have some agriculture or a restaurant or something where we can, give to the people in a way that's proper, and we're not having to rely on Costco, who's butchering thousands of animals, and so on a year. We don't have to rely on all of these barbarian industries. And even you guys, you are going to inevitably work for barbarian industries. There's really no way around it. But if you build your life, you put in the time that you need to do it, and Krishna will arrange the right circumstances. You can build such a life that you can become free of these things. So Prabhupada is giving a long-term vision that even he himself, in his time, he knew it would take much time. When he died, actually, he was on his way from London. He was on the way from India to Gitanagari. And why? Because he wanted to show people how to properly to exist in society, to set up Varnashram, how it needs to be done, and give it an example. And Gitanagari was supposed to be that example. Now what ended up happening is that his health declined so rapidly in London that they turned him around and brought him back to Vrindavan, where he had left this world in Vrindavan, because that was very important to him.
He left the body in India? Or?
Yes, in Vrindavan.
Oh, right.
Yes. What? This Gitanagari that you visited, that was his destination. He wanted to show here in America what to do. Now, though, we can take that. He didn't get there, and we didn't get to hear his instructions, which would have been very nice. But we should understand. He's given all of it in his books. You know, if you want to know his heart, you scour through the books. But this is what we're supposed to do here in America. You know, and we have to be practical. You know, we can't just like we got to worship the deities. Worshipping the deities is proper. We have to worship the deities. But this shouldn't be the main emphasis. The main emphasis, also, how are we going to get the proper things to worship the articles, to worship the deities? Really, we should grow it. Really, we should produce it. We should use the natural facilities. We shouldn't go to a place where people who have many unclean habits don't even know how to clean themselves after they're going to the bathroom, and they should be handling all our food stuff. We should give them money. They slaughter animals. They do this, that, and the other. No, we should produce it. This is the long-term vision. This is what we need to come to. Anyhow, there needs to be a Vaishya class of people. Not everyone. Oh, well, let's just start. You know, we should start as many ashrams as possible, because this is very essential to the Brahmin. The head of the body has to be there. There has to be Brahminical men to instruct others. But there will also have to be the arms of the body, the Kshatriyas, the strength to move it. There will have to be the belly, the Vaishyas to produce and do this. And the Shudras are very important as well. The servants who move, make all the things move. I'm not calling you guys Shudras, that's not. But when we came here, we had so many ideas and things we wanted to do, but when it actually came down to the practical duties of if I want to study and actually increase, like I can't do all the. But when I saw a lot of progress has come is when we invited all the boys to start coming, and now they're doing so many of the things. It's amazing. It's a must. There must be people these are called the legs of the body. The legs are what move everyone and everything. So, and actually, just like you guys, when I started in Krishna consciousness, I wasn't like, all right, well, sign me up for the teacher's position. No, it doesn't work that way. I had to start, I was doing all kinds of different sevas. Actually, Krishna forced me. He made me do 100 hours community service, and it was either I clean up garbage on the side of the road or I go to the temple and do seva. So I chose to go to the temple and do seva, and I did anything and everything you can imagine at the temple. Scrubbing and cleaning and this and that and the other thing. All the while acquiring more knowledge, acquiring more knowledge, acquiring more knowledge. And then slowly organizing more and more projects, and then eventually, somehow or other, found our way here. But years later, and after trying a few things, including starting a program in Newburgh, New York, in which there's still devotees there who are they're practicing. But I must admit, I have like a lot of compassion. I want to go back and like, hey, let's see what we can do. But anyhow, if not anything, if you don't know where you're qualified, do some service. Actually, it's a necessity when you take a guru or even someone you want to hear from, to do menial service for them is like the best thing you could do. The best thing. That's the number one thing you should do. What can I do for you? Can I hold your hand? What do you need? What do you need? So this is the process. So the Shudra class is less intelligent and should have no independence. No, Prabhupada is strong here. But they are meant for rendering sincere service to the three higher sections of the society. The Shudra class can attain all comforts of life simply by rendering service to the higher classes. Now, you should understand, this, in an ideal government, they're not given, even in our government, they don't give the working class that much freedom. They give them like an illusion of freedom. But they say, yes, you can, here's your money, here's enough this, but the way they structure all of the housing situations and everything, they spend all the money and they can't really do what they want. And actually it's good to a certain degree that they can't do what they want, because usually the working class is less intelligent. They are, their desires are less intelligent, and they would screw up everything if they were, just enacting all their desires. Actually, most of the world's problems are usually due to collective ignorance of people doing all kinds.
Susie is locked in Mataji से तो खोल के आना
Locked in the bedroom or bathroom?
but look पता नहीं क्या हुआ से
Oh, very good.
I think it's the washroom because
The door unscrews.
She must have turned to the other way. So anyway, so anyhow, yes. So the Shudra is less intelligent and should have no independence. It is especially enjoined that a Shudra should never bank money. Why? Because when they get money, then you see all kinds of things. As soon as the Shudras accumulate wealth, it will be misused for sinful activities in wine, women, and gambling, which are things that are very prominent in our society. Wine, women, and gambling indicate that the population is degraded to less than Shudra quality. The higher caste should always look after the maintenance of the Shudras, and they should provide them with old and used garments. Okay. A Shudra should not leave his master when the master is old and invalid, and the master should keep the servants satisfied in all respects. It's going to be really hard for me. It's almost like an indentured servitude is the ideal, but that is the Vedic ideal. And if you are properly caring for let's say this class, it's almost like having children, adult children. You kind of treat like children like this to a certain degree. They don't have all the freedoms, they don't have this, they can't just spend money on whatever they want, things like this. Why? Because society recognizes, oh, this class is less intelligent. But if people never really grow up and refine themselves, so better that the government has some, an ideal government has some, and they do this, but they just do it behind your back. With all the legislations and things, they don't tell you all of the things that they're really planning and agendas they're really planning for you. They just say, oh, the inflation, or oh, this happened, and times have gotten harder. Sorry, But they know when it's going up and down, and they know what moves they need to make. But it's ultimately, unfortunately, because it's Kali Yuga, they're rogues and plunderers and thieves, and they're just stealing from you. But what can be done? You should elevate yourself. This is the way to elevate. A Shudra should not leave his master, when the master is old and invalid, and the master should keep the servants satisfied in all respects. So that's how that relationship would work. Definitely a different paradigm, especially we just had Martin Luther King Day yesterday, which I'm not saying anything about race. I'm just saying about the equality of kind of taking the common people and bringing them up, actually civil rights, actually the wealth, the thing that really got Martin Luther King killed, his last thing that he was really promoting, they don't talk about this because they don't want to talk about this, was
an inside job.
What? Well, of course it was an inside job, but he was talking about inequality of the wealth classes and how the higher wealth classes were abusing the people. When he's talking about race, all right, you're a hero, this, that, and the other. But as soon as he was starting talking about the wealthy class and their abuses, dead. That's how it really. That's unfortunately how it works. As soon as John Lennon started talking about it, dead. Malcolm X, dead. That's how it works. John F. Kennedy even. He was talking about the industrial pieces in the government, and they had a shadow government. 7 days later, dead. Don't talk about that, or you're dead. thank God, like 5 people watch my social media presentation. Or next thing you know.
Even Trump got it.
What?
Even Trump got it.
Well, we're not going there. No, we're not allowed to talk about that. What's that?
They're not.
I hope not. They won't even knock. The sniper will come, boom, drop during Bhagavatam class.
The neighbor will be happy.
What's that?
I think Krishna would protect.
Yeah, but even if Krishna, maybe, I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know. I can't say it. I'm sorry. But basically, sometimes devotees, prominent devotees, are put into all kinds of difficulties or disturbing situations. But yeah, Krishna has some greater plan, and even if it means losing the body, what's happening on the spiritual level, we can't measure that. And it might be like, imagine, someone just woke you up from a dream, and you're like in a bad dream, no, and they're just like, hey, relax, wake up, so that relax, wake up would be your material body getting shot, no problem. But, anyhow. So let's finish this, and then we gotta move on with our day. A Shudra, okay, read that like 10 times. The Shudras must first of all be satisfied by sumptuous food and clothing before any sacrifice is performed. So they're always to be given the food that they need and desire, and then proper clothing. They should never not have their needs met. In this age, so many functions are held by spending millions, but the poor laborer is not sumptuously fed or given charity, clothing, etc. The laborers are thus dissatisfied, and so they make agitation. So you have to, you have to appease all classes of people, even, there's many blue collar workers in the world, and they should have all of their needs met, and there's always strikes, and that's why unions and these things exist. So the Varnas, sorry about that, Susie.
That's okay.
Did Piyush show you how to open it?
Yeah,
It
I saw
was not her
fixed,
fault.
he fixed it too now.
Oh.
I saw that, it was loose.
So, no, sorry about that. So the Varnas are, so to speak, the classifications of different occupations. And ashram dharma is gradual progress on the path of self-realization. Both are interrelated and one is dependent on the other. The main purpose of ashram dharma is to awaken knowledge and detachment. The brahmachari ashram is the training ground for the prospective candidates. In this ashram, it is instructed that this material world is not actually the home of the living being. So this is where you're all kind of are or maybe graduating, is brahmachari ashram. This is like a phase of life to be a student. And Craig, you're excluded from that. You're definitely in the grahastha ashram. But these boys are all in the brahmachari ashram as of right now. Even though whether you're actually able to formally fit the mold, probably not. But you should do your best to try and formally fit the mold. You'll make the most advancement that way. So the brahmachari ashram is the training ground for the prospective candidates. In this ashram, it is instructed that this material world is not actually the home of the living being. The conditioned souls under material bondage are prisoners of matter, and therefore self-realization is the ultimate aim of life. The whole system of ashram dharma is a means to detachment. One who fails to assimilate the spirit of detachment is allowed to enter into family life. So if you can't fully detach from the material world and its glam and its glitter, namely woman for men, women for men, then and you are not going to be able to hold that life long, you must go into the grahastha ashram. So, but even there's so therefore one who attains detachment may at once adopt the fourth order, namely renounced, or the sannyasi life, and thus live on charity only, not to accumulate wealth, but just to keep body and soul together for ultimate realization. Household life is for one who is attached, and the vanaprastha and sannyas orders of life are for those who are detached from material life. The brahmacharya ashram is especially meant for training both the attached and detached. So the ashrams are the phases of life that you're in. In the beginning, everyone needs to do student life. For those who are attached to certain material things, job, money, wealth, this kind of independent will on making their mark in the world, you should do grahastha life. I chose grahastha. It was very clear to me. I'm not qualified to, be a Naishtik brahmachari and then go towards sannyas. It's just not my nature. I'm not qualified in any which way to do it. So I need the gradual system, which is grahastha. So grahastha is very safe, but if you do it improperly, it's a blind well in which you can never get out of, according to Prahlad Maharaj. So anyhow, and that's lifetime after lifetime. You can't get out too. It's not like, I'll just, when I die, it'll be escaped. No, the same nature will carry you into it in the next lifetime when you come back in your ignorance. So you must ultimately properly do each phase, grahastha. Craig, you would probably be on the phase of vanaprastha, learning this art of what it means to detach from maybe many of the family responsibilities and all these things. Slowly, gradually. There's a whole science to it. Prabhupada's books give the science. And then eventually sannyas, which isn't necessarily has to be done. Actually, there is Shastric injunction that in Kali Yuga one should never take sannyas. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta, our Prabhupads, they both took sannyas, and they both gave sannyas, but interestingly enough, not many know, Prabhupada at the end of his life forbid the taking of sannyas anymore, and then actually recommended, because so many were falling down, that it recommended everyone do grahastha. And what ended up happening was that didn't get followed or prioritized, and now you have a completely different movement than that. But that is the truth, that did happen. And Srila Prabhupada was no longer there to speak on it, but you can see from this purport, ultimately, it is good if you can actually do this thing. Anyhow, that's it for today. The brahmachari ashram is especially meant for training both the attached and detached. So no matter how attached or detached you are, you're in the right ashram. But you have to take the training. You could try and just skate through the ashram. If you don't take the valuable essence of brahmacharya, when you get thrown into grahastha duties, like our good friend Rishi is now thrown into grahastha duties, working every day and all these things. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Even myself, I'm shocked about the new responsibilities that I have to do every day. That I'm like, wow, this is part of this too, and now I'm gonna keep being shocked because a baby is coming. It's just gonna be, wow, all right, I never thought this would be what my life would be, but this is there is a way. There's a Vedic way to do everything. Do it the Vedic way, lest you be punished. That is the system. Do it the Vedic way, lest you be punished. So, and remember, your punishment's good for you. It's good. It's good to be punished, but the point of punishment is to learn the lessons, the valuable lessons. So, yes, may we all learn our lessons nicely. Hare Krishna. Sorry we went so long today. I was inspired by Rishi and the long purport and Craig. So, thank you who joined online, and Hare Krishna.